Hi everyone, welcome to today's session. Today we're talking about the sustainability champion. So what we'll be looking at is who are the people that are responsible for change within the organization, specifically towards sustainability goals. What roles do they play? What are their characteristics? And most importantly, what are the values that they hold in high esteem? The whole idea of this is as you continue your journey in sustainability, you want to embody the ideology behind the person that is championing sustainability. So it's not just about your focus as an organization. It's not just about how you manage the change, etc. It's also about who you are as an individual and how that would enable you push sustainability within an organization or even in your personal life. All right. So I have this quote from the New York Times, which says, in reference to sustainability champions, that sustainability champions are not just environmental watchdogs. When we think about sustainability champions, we're just thinking about that person that is saying, oh, your pollution level is high. Oh, your carbon emission is so great. Oh, you're not affecting the society in a positive way. Oh, your employees are not exactly excited about working within your organization. No, it goes beyond that. What we're doing now is just aligned with the business case for sustainability. A sustainability champion goes all the way to actually helping the companies profit from the push to go green. So going green is not exactly the cheapest thing. However, sustainability champions will try to strategize within the organizations how these companies can move from where they are to a sustainable perspective while still pushing profit and while still being having potentials to grow within that particular industry. So let's go into a few definitions. Who is a sustainability champion? When we think about a sustainability champion, this person could be internal or external. So when we say internal, that means they work within the organization. Or they could be external. They might be a consultant that is brought from outside the organization to help lead the change to sustainability. Now, beyond that, their goal is obviously to lead the organization into a smarter or into being more sustainable. So leading change within the organization from where we are now to where we want to get to in terms of sustainability. Usually they come from a diverse background. So you don't really have one particular area or academic or experience that you should have if you want to be a sustainability champion. You have sustainability champions that come from human resources management. They're already used to managing people. They're already used to change within organizations. They're already used to conflict and negotiation. They're used to leadership. And so it kind of just fits into the background, the requirements for being a sustainability champion. You have sustainability champions that have a background in organization design, in business strategy, in quality control, in operations, in IT, and several other areas. So there's really no one best fits all approach when it comes to being a sustainability champion. We also have sustainability champions that come from the accounting and finance background. So the good thing about all this diversity in backgrounds is you can bring in all the experience that you've learned in your past job. So an accounting and finance sustainability champion or someone that comes from that background will most likely bring in the financial perspective to businesses and to sustainability, and that was something that might end up pushing sustainability all the way through because people want to see where's the financials, how much are we going to make from this, how much are we going to lose, what is the potential for growth, etc. Now in most organizations, especially when sustainability has gotten to a higher level, deep sustainability champions are usually referred to as chief sustainability officers. So now let's go into who a chief sustainability officer is. So it's usually a centralized position that oversees the development and implementation of the strategies that will carry the company through the more complex stages of change. So think about the fact that for you to change from where you are as an organization to a more sustainable company, you're going to need someone or a group of people that are willing to sit down, strategize, develop strategies, manage, and then be a total part of the entire process of moving from where you are as an organization all the way to where you want to be in terms of sustainability. And these people are usually referred to as CSOs or Chief Sustainability Officer. So in key understanding of who they are, most times, like I said earlier, it's a centralized position. So it's one person that has to work with other people. It's usually not as divided as we would like to hope it would be, but right now it's more of a centralized position. And then when you think about the different stages in sustainability, so which I have talked about earlier, when we think about innovation, efficiency, compliance stages, you realize that when you're a CSO, you have most authority when you're at the innovation stage. So the innovation stage is the final stage in sustainability where the company has embedded sustainability into their core strategy as an organization. So usually at that point, you are really high level because sustainability is the base of that particular organization. In terms of who they report to, several sustainability officers report to different people. So there's a research that showed about 10 to 30% of chief sustainability officers will report to the CEOs, some 13 to 30% to external affairs, some report to the board of directors. So it all depends on the structures within the organization. In terms of tenure, on average, you realize that CSOs would work for about 4 years or less. It all depends on the organization, some even more, but usually it averages around 4 years. Now, in terms of experience, just like we said earlier, if you're coming from the internal perspective, you're an internal CSO, you are within the organization, chances are you've been working in other departments. And then even beyond that, you most likely have at some point done something sustainability related, maybe championed a particular project, or you've been a part of some volunteer activities in the society. So pretty much it starts from the basics. So where did you start within the organization? Have you shown that you are interested in sustainability? All of these small things will determine how much potential you have to be a chief sustainable officer within the organization. However, when the CSO is coming from an external perspective, in the sense that we are hiring outside the organization, or it is a consultant coming in to help the organization to change towards sustainability, what usually happens is they have enough educational experience, educational qualifications or credentials. So maybe they've studied sustainability, some aspect of sustainability in the past, they have some previous experience, they've worked with other organizations in pushing sustainability goals. So for the external candidates, it's more sustainability focused, and there's more emphasis on what you've done in the past, how you've done it in the past, compared to the internal candidates who has the edge that they already understand the organization, people already trust them, fingers crossed, and so that might lead to people listening to them even more. So now let's think about the responsibilities of the CSO. So the responsibilities of chief sustainability officers are divided based on the stages of sustainability. The role that a CSO would play when it's just a compliance stage, which is when we're pretty much just listening to regulations and ensuring that we're not going far away from what the government expects us to do, is different from the role that the CSO will play when it comes to innovation stages. Now, the compliance and efficiency stages are very similar in terms of responsibilities. So usually what a CSO is doing at the earlier stages of sustainability within the organization is more generic. So they're looking more at, okay, what exactly are the sustainability issues within this organization? What kind of strategy can we create that will align our organization to sustainability? So at this point, the kind of strategies they're creating is just specific to sustainability within the organization. It's most times not sufficient in changing the entire organization, but it's good enough to at least start the conversation. During this point, they're also trying to learn from external sources, so seeing what other organizations are doing, seeing what is recommended in their industry in terms of sustainability. At this point, there's a lot of emphasis on reporting sustainability data. So it's okay, what are we doing? How are we doing it? What should we be doing next? Looking at other companies as well and seeing how they're working towards it. Also, at this point, they're trying at the barest minimum to at least embed sustainability into the organization. So in little conversations here and there, having that communication with the employees. So that goes back to employees, having communications with employees, educating employees about sustainability, talking to the different stakeholders, trying to make them understand what sustainability is, especially from that organization's perspective, and then also finding ways to ensure that all of these things are managed within the organization. So there's more of stakeholder relations at this point. There's a lot of internal and external engagement. They're educating employees and every other stakeholder about what sustainability is. And most times they are looking at it more from the smaller perspective. So including volunteering experiences or initiatives aligned with sustainability, maybe recycling projects or green teams, etc. Now, while we've combined the responsibilities of chief sustainability officers within the compliance and efficiency stages, it's because their roles are quite similar at this point. Because at this point, like I said earlier, it's the basics of sustainability. So there's no key emphasis on maybe business case. There's no key emphasis on the functional or the geographical areas. It's smaller scale at this point. However, while they are very similar, the only difference really is on what they focus on. So at the compliance stage, the responsibilities usually will be more centralized with environmental regulations, just like we said earlier. However, for the efficiency stage, the responsibilities are more aligned to, how to relate with the various stakeholders, how to understand what the stakeholders want as well as how to impact the company's bottom line. So at the ending of the stages, or at least at the ending of efficiency stage, the CSO is now thinking more of the bottom line, thinking more about the business case, which then transcends into the responsibilities of a chief sustainable officer by the time, by the time we get on to the next stage. All right. I'm just going to try to reduce this bubble here. I'm not sure I can do that because I see it's covering most of. Okay. Uh-oh. All right. So I think it's better here. It doesn't cover most of the text. All right. So in terms of responsibilities of the Chief Sustainable Officer, when it comes to the innovation stage of sustainability, which is the more mature version of sustainability. So at this point, we're saying that, hey, the organization has come from compliance. We are no longer just doing things just to align with government regulations. We've moved on to efficiency. We've tried to embed it into our processes within the organization just to see how more efficient we can be. And now we've gone to the innovation stage, which is where sustainability is a core function or core value within the organization. So this is more high-ended. So that means the responsibility of the Chief Sustainable Officer at this point is a little bit more high-ended. So you're going to start thinking about this person like the way you would think about a chief executive officer, the way you think about a chief financial officer, and every other person that is on the C-suite when it comes to the organization. So here you realize that the CSO is no longer doing functional tasks. So there's going to be functional teams within the different divisions or geographies of the organization. And then within those teams, you'd have sustainability champions that are also working hand in hand with the CSO. So think about it as a more decentralized position where the emphasis is no longer just on one person, but is on how every other person that has been distributed into different functional areas of the organization can actually align with sustainability. Also, at this point, there's a lot of fine-tuning of strategy. The business case for sustainability needs to be on point here. It's already in the core of the organization, so we need to really see how it aligns perfectly well with every other part of the organization. At this point, the CSO is also working more with the leaders, the different leaders within the team or within the organization, trying to get their own perspective to sustainability. So one of the key things that we'll talk about when it comes to change is that if you do not get people's perspectives to things, you realize that you might just be pushing this whole thing by yourself. So for a sustainability leader at this point to get the best, he or she has to work with the different leaders within the organization. So work with finance team, for example, understanding how sustainability can be embedded into finance. Work with, let's say, the marketing team, understanding how sustainability can be embedded into the marketing. Work with the productions team, understanding how sustainability can be embedded into their operations. Now, even beyond that, let's assume it's an organization that has several units or several focus. So maybe you have different products, right, or different services. You would have to be working with the different products to see how sustainability differs from the other product and finding ways through which you can embed it into their general day-to-day life. Also, at this point, you're thinking more about change strategy. It's high level. How do we support sustainability vision within the organization? How do we make sure that every single person is aligned? How can we make sure that the functional and geographical divisions are aligned? So even if it's a company that has several branches across the world, how do we ensure that our North American branches are doing very similar things or are sustainability focused, just the same way as our African branches are sustainability focused, and just the same way our Asian branches are also sustainability focused? focus. So there's a whole lot of high-ended responsibilities that comes with being a CSO when the organization has moved from the compliance and efficiency stages onto the innovation stage. So again, you're driving transformation across multiple businesses and parts of the company. So there's a higher need for you to relate with people more. There's a higher need for you to understand the vision of every department and unit and find a way to get everyone to buy into the same vision that you have as a sustainability champion. All right. So now, based on that, having understood all of that, the next thing we want to see is what are the competencies of a sustainability champion? So it already looks like the job of a sustainability champion is high end. It's a job that is not for the weak hearted. It's a job that you need a lot of stamina, a lot of grace, a lot of skills for you to actually be able to get it done. And so we're going to do a couple of competencies that a sustainability champion should have if you want to be effective and if you want to get the job actually done. So the first one is your intrapersonal skills or self-management. Now, this does not lie just with sustainability champions. This lies with anyone that wants to go into leadership. For you to be a leader, you have to first understand yourself. So that's the first thing. Before you start managing people, know your own values, know your own feelings, know your purpose, have an identity, have some level of integrity to act responsibly, regardless of the situation that you find yourself. So the first key competency that a sustainability champion or any other leader within an organization must have is an understanding of themselves. Knowing oneself. If you don't understand yourself, it's very difficult for you to actually understand others. It's very difficult for you to have better relationships with others. It's very difficult for you to manage and push people in certain directions if you yourself have no clear direction on your path. Now, the other set of skills will be the interpersonal skills. So you understand yourself, you can manage yourself, you have time management, you have integrity and all of the great nice things about yourself, but you also have to have the same with other people. As a sustainability champion, you're trying to coerce people, well, not coerce per se, you're trying to motivate people to get things done. Things that on a normal day, they probably would not want to do. And so that means that you must be able to, people must see you and think, wow, I really want to be like her, or wow, I really want to be like him. They have to see you as a credible role model for them to actually want to do the things that you want them to do. So you must be able to create and maintain effective relationships with individuals and groups within the organization, have those conversations, be friendly, be nice, be assertive at the same time, but be gentle, be kind, etc. So as a sustainability champion, you have to be great with people because you're motivating them, you're getting them to change from what they're used to. So that means you need to be able to have great relationships with them. Also, you have to have general consultation skills. So the consulting process seems very easy, but in actual sense, it's a little bit more difficult than it appears. So when you're consulting, there are the documents you need, there's the research that you need as well. You need to be able to evaluate, you need to be able to, you need to be part of the entire process itself. So it's a huge work for you to be a consultant when it comes to sustainability, right? So you have to learn all of these processes, know how to do research, know how to create contracts, know how to put out documentations, design and execute interventions, design projects that would align with the vision that you are trying to push. And all of these are skills that you need or competencies that you need as a sustainability champion. Also, you need to know the theory. So I cannot be leading sustainability if I do not understand sustainability concepts. If I don't know the difference between one form of sustainability and the other. You have to also know the different potential projects that can be done, all within the context of the organization that you're working on. Understanding the vision that the organization has for sustainability, you need to remember concepts, you need to know what is happening, you have to have that relationship with other sustainability champions outside the organization to be abreast of all the developments in the sustainability field. Because you can't be talking about 3 years, 10 years ago sustainability when the world is moving very fast. And then most importantly, like every other leader, you should be ethical, knowing what is right and what is wrong, and then aligning with the right things and making decisions that are more positive than they are negative. So aligned with all of these competencies, I want us to quickly focus on some key characteristics or characters that a sustainability champion should have. You should have courage. So when we think about courage, courage is pretty much just overcoming fear in order to do the right thing. It wouldn't be easy to lead change within the organization. People might say no. People might say what you're doing is absolutely wrong. Some people might not even believe what you're saying. But as a sustainability champion, even when you're scared to death, as John Wayne would say, you have to still saddle up. You have to still keep pushing, saying, hey, I know that people are not going to accept this. I know my manager might not exactly see this as the greatest idea. I know the board of directors might have a lot of questions, but I am still going to push through to do what is the right thing despite every other thing. Also, you have to have the grit. So when we think about grit is the motivation to pursue long-term goals with sustained efforts. So you cannot start the sustainability journey at the beginning and say, wow, I need to push for sustainability. And 2 months down the line, like, well, honestly, I don't have the strength anymore. No, you have to keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. That's the only way that you can get people to actually align with sustainability values or vision that you have for the organization. As Charles Darwin would say, I have always maintained that except fools, men, women, do not differ much in terms of intellect. The only thing that makes people stand out, the only thing that makes people different is their zeal, their hard work, their ability to keep pushing and pushing despite any situation or anything that might come or might arise. All right. Now, sustainability, like everything we know, is all about justice. Justice for the environment, justice for the community, justice for the people that you're fighting for. And so, if you want to be a sustainability champion, justice has to be a key word for you. So, with justice, we're looking at the sense of obligation to the common good. It's fair and equal treatment of others, including the environment. So, like Henry David Thoreau says, justice is sweet and musical, but injustice is harsh and discordant. As a sustainability champion, justice needs to be your keyword. You are technically fighting for justice. You are technically fighting for fair and equal treatment. You are technically fighting for the better good for the world generally. And then you have to be optimistic. So with optimistic means you're expecting positive outcomes. So yes, sustainability has not been so ingrained into the organization, but you have the hope that after everything that you're doing, people would actually buy into the sustainability vision within the organization. So you have to be optimistic. You have to keep pushing. You have to expect positive outcomes from the entire goal or from the entire drive that you have. Because if you're not positive, if you don't think it's going to happen, then nobody is going to believe you. Nobody is going to listen to you. If you yourself, the sustainability champion, are having doubts about whether or not this will be successful. Also, integrity. Integrity and humility. Like we said earlier, for you to be a sustainability champion, you have to be whole. You have to be complete. You have to be truthful. You cannot be saying things that are different. You have to have some level of integrity. People should know that if Debbie says this, Debbie means it. If this person says this, they actually mean it. They're going to try their possible best to get this done. Also, humility. You have to have some level, find a balance between being low and having an overly high opinion of yourself. So yes, you're championing something that is so amazing, that is the future of the world, that is going to help generations to come. However, find a way to express yourself that doesn't seem like you're coming off as being too bold. Find a way to say your thing or the things you want to say without it seems like you are trying to overpower other people. So humility, being humble, is definitely one of the key characteristics that a sustainability champion should have. Now, the final two that we're going to talk about will be temperance and wisdom. So temperance is just the ability to control emotions and pleasures. Think about it. People would not always accept what you're saying. So when you're in the boardroom and they tell you, oh, Debbie, you're saying absolute rubbish, do you start fighting them? Do you get into a mood? Do you get really upset? All of these things are very important for you to think about when you want to aim to be a sustainability champion. So you have to be able to control your emotions, have emotional intelligence. Because if you don't have that, when things are going not so great, you might show characteristics that might push your values even down, that might even drop down the sustainability drive that you're trying to push. The same thing with wisdom and prudence. So wisdom is just drawing upon knowledge and experience to promote the common good over the short term and the long term. Practical wisdom. So you're not just making random decisions. They are decisions that are coming from a place of knowledge, decisions that are coming from a place of experience. It's important that you have some level of wisdom if you're trying to push sustainability across the organization. Now, if you have all this integrity, all these values that we've talked about, it helps you to create some sort of personal mission statement. So when we're thinking about the mission statement, we're saying, now I know what is important to me. Now I know what I value. Now I know what I want to do a couple of years from now. Based on that, how can I lead? How can I create boundaries throughout my sustainability journey? How can I guide decisions? How can I ensure that everyone is aligned with the values of the organization? So your personal mission statement is pretty much the best way for you to keep the destination at your mind. So you're saying, regardless of what is happening now, because I know where I'm going to, I would for sure be more aligned with this angle of sustainability. So in determining what your personal mission statement is, because every sustainability champion must have a personal mission statement, quick questions you can ask yourself: what are my deepest values? What are the things that I hold with highest esteem? What are the things that are most valuable to me? When I think about my life 300 years from now, I know nobody's hoping to live 300 years, but when I think about my life many years down the line, how would I define success? What does it mean? What makes my life really worth living? What are the things that will make me stand up, wake up every day to still keep pushing on this? How do I want to be remembered? So there's what people would say that as an individual, you die twice. The first time you die is when you really die, and then the second time you die is when everyone that knew you has died as well. So how do you want to be remembered? What legacy do you want to keep? Or what legacy do you want to leave? How do you want people to describe you in the future? How do you want to be? What are the things that will define you as an individual? Now, when you compile all of these things together, then it's easier for you to see what your personal mission statement is. And then in understanding this, it's very easy for you to use a list of values. So this is the list of values by Brené Brown in her book, Dare to Lead. And she lists several values that individuals have or should have. So now the question is, you as a leader, what are the values that you have? What are the things that you have that would align very well with your person? So leading sustainability is not just a task that you do off the top of your head. It is actually something that takes your entire being for you to push. And then, like every other thing in terms of leadership, it's always great when your values align with the values in which you're trying to push within the organization, and aligns generally with the values of the organization. So I want us to take a minute and think about this. Go through this list. What are the key things that are most important to you? If you find those things, it's easier for you to then align the way you go about being a sustainability champion, the way you go about being a leader, to make sure they fit within the list of values that you have. So in summary, for you to be a sustainability champion, it really comes from yourself. An understanding of who you are, understanding of what drives you, an understanding of your values, and then learning how to work with others. So having those interpersonal skills that will create better relationships with the people that you need to motivate. Also understanding what sustainability really is and how it affects organizations, how it affects people as well. Those are key things that you want to always have at the back of your mind as a sustainability champion. Thank you for listening, and I hope this is beneficial to you.